Hey guys, Stephen Bogran here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is how to manage your macros in the best way possible for you. So hey guys, hopefully you're having a great week so far. I was thinking about this question because I had some newer clients that are sort of getting into the habit of the IIFYM, or if it fits your macros lifestyle. And so when we're getting into something new like that, we can quite often have some issues. And so making that work, might not be the same for everybody, because what works for you might not work for me, and vice versa. So I think it's always important that we sort of take that into consideration, and understand that not everyone works the same way we do. And so there might be some other methods that are useful in terms of making it work for your lifestyle. So I think what makes sense to me is to talk about the two major ways of making if it fits your macros work for your lifestyle that I think work for the majority of people. I'll start off with what I do. I am sort of a puzzle solver, right? So for the most part, I like to have some staples in my day, right? I have the same breakfast pretty much every day. I do a scramble with a lot of vegetables, some chicken, some ham, high protein. And so I know roughly that first meal is going to be about 8 to 10 carbs, around 15 fats, and normally around 50 to 60 grams of protein. So after that, my day's kind of up in the air though. It's sort of, what do I feel like? Do I want another scramble for lunch? Do I want to have chicken? Do I want a salad? Do I want bread for a post-workout? Do I want rice cakes? And so after that, I just sort of piece stuff in. And then I track it as I go, of course, and sort of just keep an open mind to try and leave myself enough room at the end of the night to make things work. So normally, at the end of the night, I like to have around 50 grams of protein left, anywhere from 20 to 40 grams of carbs, and probably around 10 to 15 grams of fat. So that gives me a decent amount of room to play with in terms of making a meal work. And so this is what I kind of like to call the puzzle solver, right? So you have some staples, some things that you normally use that you're very familiar with, and you probably stay with those familiar foods more often than not in the first place. And so what that allows you to do is sort of go through the day, have what you want, not have to be planned out and regimented quite as much, and then at the end of the day, just make whatever you have left work in terms of your numbers. So this is what I like to do. This is what I think most people enjoy doing because of the fact that it doesn't take as much planning and time. When you're learning the new lifestyle, you're getting into new habits, it takes a lot more time to be successful. And so when you do something like this, it helps minimize the amount of time that you have to put into thinking and planning ahead for your meals. Granted, I always have chicken cooked up. It's not hard for me to cook up beef. I work from home. I utilize things like bread. I don't necessarily use as much sweet potatoes or other things that have to be cooked that I have to put a lot of time into. So that all helps with this, right? Faster meals. The problem being is if you're not really, if you don't have a lot of experience with IIFYM and flexible dieting, that can be really hard to do because you're consistently questioning yourself, or making mistakes, or going under or over, or having not enough or too much left on one thing or another. So I think that this method is best reserved for people who have been doing it for a little bit longer. It just makes more sense because you've had more time to estimate, to eyeball, and to sort of get used to the process as a whole and how it works. Now, for those of you who are newer to the process, I think that planning things out makes more sense, at least for a time, right? So the problem is when you're getting used to it, you don't know what 4 ounces of chicken is. You don't know what a Pop-Tart is. You don't know what the bread that you use is, right? Or the Eggo waffles. So there's so many things that you don't know. Sweet potato macros, regular potatoes. What's 4 ounces look like? And so not knowing all that information, it makes things a little bit more complex because of the fact you have to figure it out for each and every meal. Now, if you do something like cook up a larger portion of potatoes or sweet potatoes or rice, and you get the macros for that, now that's much easier because all you have to do now is portion it out. And I think that this is a big part of time saving in this part of the process, is food prepping ahead with a good amount of portions, right? If you make 2 portions of rice, you're going to have to make 2 portions of rice again in 2 meals if all you're eating is rice. Same thing with chicken or beef or tilapia or steak, whatever it might be that you're eating, right? What I like to do is I will cook up about 40 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast at a time. I know that's a lot, but that does 2 things for me. 1, it saves me money because I get to buy it in bulk. Yay. 2 is it gives me plenty of chicken on hand at all times for any kind of meal. So if I have 40 grams of protein or if I have 80 grams of protein, I have enough chicken to make that work. The caveat to that is that it takes up space in the freezer. So what I will do is I will take out about 4 to 5 days worth at a time. I have it portioned out in such a manner so I can defrost that. I start defrosting it as when needed, and I just go through it as necessary. Things like beef or steak or fish, I cook up as needed or as I want, and I make them work. Just because it's a little bit more time consuming, I've found. It's easy to bake or to grill up chicken in excess at once. So that's what I do. And so what I do is I just have in my app a cooked chicken. And I use that. And so now my protein is already set. I don't have to worry about my protein. I don't have to take the time to weigh it out before I cook it or to do this, that, or the other thing. It's very, very convenient at this point. That is going to be your best friend because the agitation that can come and the aggravation that can come with how much time it sometimes is involved in your food prep and planning these days out, that can be like an extra job in and of itself. Especially if we're very type A or perfectionists and we really, really, really think that we need to be right at 200 grams of protein if the plan says 200 grams of protein. So that is one easy way. You can do the exact same thing with carbohydrate sources, right? Rice, potatoes, bread is an easy one because it already has everything done. Any kind of processed foods are going to be easier to make work because the macros aren't changing. It's like a slice is a slice. So that's always nice. Oh, I rhymed. Fats are a little bit more difficult, but I think also an easy option is to use things like olive oil, avocados, coconut oil, whether or not it's good or bad, take it or leave it. Those types of things, because it's very easy to say, hey, I need 14 grams of fat left for the day. Hey, I can just add a tablespoon of olive oil onto my chicken and rice, or use it to cook with, so on and so forth. So we become more familiar with the foods that we use on a regular basis. Keeping it simple at first, I think, is going to be the key to success. You don't want to have to try and go out and make the black bean protein brownies. That kind of stuff, I'd say, even though it is fun and it's very enjoyable to utilize in your daily routine, keeping it simple will help you to be more successful, especially in the short term of, hey, I'm just learning, right? So I also think that keeping it simple will help you in the long term in the sense of, hey, I'm lazy and I don't really care that much to do this. So that's it for today, guys. You're going to have to figure out if you like solving puzzles or if you like planning out a little bit better, what fits your lifestyle, what makes sense to you. So I'll leave it there. Until next time, guys, have a great one.